And now, it's time for a Star Trek story. We've been doing this little podcast for a bit now. We have a good run of episodes under our belt, as does the thing we talk about, Star Trek. That's also been around for a second with quite a few episodes. And, with these long-running things, this begs a question, Tyson. What is the importance of legacy?
I think it's a persistence of memory and time and knowledge accumulated over time periods, whether that's a decade, a year, a week, a month, or longer, a millennia. Yeah. And the things that stick out the most, or the things that just like seem the most important in the human perspective of what means the most in living life, I guess.
So like a sense of continuity, helping kind of anchor yourself in where you are and where you've been and kind of a thing. Okay.
Maybe a little, maybe pride too, because legacy, it's like it has that kind of grandiose.
It's a little more than memories. Like legacy seems to imply that pride's a good word. Like you should be proud of your legacy, right?
Right. And it's the story. Like I don't know, like legacy. There's context to why things carry on. In the grand scheme of things, legacy is just such an epic kind of word.
It's real big, but it's also kind of like we all know what we're talking about, but at the same time, it's like once you start trying to pick it apart, I'm like, legacy is also a little vague, like when it comes down to it. So I'm like, what's the deal with legacy? I thought that this would be an appropriate question to go over for today's episode of Star Trek Stories. Wow! This is episode 95, Remembrance. I am your traditional host, Jaron Hatch. Welcome to the show. We are in the middle of our look at modern Trek. Last time we watched Children of Mars. This was our one and only episode of Star Trek Short Treks, which, yes, is a show and does count to the official episode count. This week, yes, we are continuing our pilot season, jumping into our first episode of Star Trek Picard, the next series up on our little docket. We have a couple of returning guest hosts to check out this little show with us. First off, on my left, on the big green comfy couch, you've already heard them. Tyson Baker is back on the show, the very lovely Tyson Baker.
It's so delightful to be back.
Yes, Tyson is, of course, a good friend of the podcast, dear friend of mine, and former member of the Boys House.
The infamous Boys
The infamous, both versions, V1 and V2. Last time you were on, we watched, I believe, Basics Part 2 was the last one you were on for. Which was our Star Trek Voyager finale for the podcast. And we should also say that was really, you were on actually for a few episodes. We were doing the whole Seska story arc from Star Trek Voyager. So you were on for quite a few episodes there for a while.
Yes.
Tyson, you've seen all of Star Trek The Next Generation. We watched it together. You and we watched all of it together. I know you enjoy all of Star Trek. On this podcast, we haven't talked so much about your feelings on Next Gen because you haven't been on for anything Next Gen related. You came on for classic Star Trek and Voyager is kind of what you came on for. What are in the grand scheme of things? What's your feeling on Star Trek: The Next Generation as a hardcore fan?
I love the aesthetic of it. The reason I kind of got into Star Trek, or one of the major reasons, is because going to space camp in Pleasant Grove and their kind of aesthetic they had at that time when they made that space camp was the Next Generation. So I love the Enterprise D, and kind of just on a very visual level, just kind of how it looks and the smoothness of it. But then I mean, watching this TV series with you at the boys' house was The Inner Light. Was like one of my favorite episodes. Kind of there's this deeper meaning to what they were doing, and or I mean, every Star Trek episode you could say that has that.
Oh, sure.
Growing up though too with my I'd watch Star Trek Next Generation with my grandpa whenever I'd hang out at his house with my grandparents, and he just would kind of throw it on. I don't know what, actually we never had deep conversations like we have on this podcast about the meaning of it, but it just, I mean, the idea of space exploration and I don't know that I'm calling me a shallow person, but I guess go back to the aesthetic and the feeling of it, and
it's so cozy.
The music of it.
You have not seen Star Trek Picard.
No, I have never seen Star Trek Picard.
I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on this. If you had one thing you would hope to see in like a TNG follow-up show, what would it be?
I mean, it's about Picard. More depths of the character. I would love to see, in the new TNG. I would love to actually see them go back to the original spirit of the original TNG or the original DS9, where there's more thought put into a storyline other than what's going to get the most views or kind of like the pizzazz of it. I would love to see depth. I would love to see, I don't know, making commentary on our current day situation. Like that's what I think the original Star Treks were really good about, or kind of taking history into context in that world. I would love to see them take more risks in having more depth in the themes and the stories that they tell. Okay. Putting it out there. There's the bar.
Yeah, put it. Yeah. You got to have your hopes and dreams for the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on this as like a hardcore TNG fan that has not watched this at all. I'm very curious. Very excited to have you on watching this with us.
Oh, thank you, Jaron.
Also with us, another very good friend of ours. And this will actually be a little reunion episode for us because we're all little Sundance buddies. But sitting on my right in the captain's chair, we have the very lovely Ellen Marie Lewis on again. Hello, Ellen.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
Welcome. Yes, for those new to the podcast, Ellen is, of course, also a dear friend of mine, good friend of the podcast. Old Sundance buddy. Yes, always lovely to have you back on. Always thrilled to have you back on.
I'm always thrilled to come back.
Yeah. Last time you were here, Ellen, we watched Star Trek Nemesis, the final TNG movie. And apologies, because I'm pretty sure we all unanimously agreed that Nemesis is pretty terrible and a pretty disappointing way to end TNG.
Absolutely.
Oh, God. But yeah, you're a total trooper for coming on and doing that one with us. We had a good time despite it.
We did.
I'm curious, now that you've gone on this little bit of this TNG journey with us, as someone who is not as newbie as you used to be, you've upgraded into casual.
Yes.
I don't know so during this whole kind of journey, what's your impression on the Next Generation been, kind of doing this little mini journey?
Trying to think of something like more profound to say than just like, I like it. I think it's neat. Like,
yeah, no, that's
but
fine.
It's really interesting seeing because just also in the context of when the Next Generation was coming out, like kind of at the end of one century and the beginning of the other, like just kind of seeing the ways that like even just, in the time that I've been alive, like how like sci-fi has changed as a genre. Like seeing like this is the first iteration to try to update this really pivotal piece of sci-fi for a new generation, the next generation.
Yep.
And like the way that like sci-fi can be used like for like kind of metaphors for things going on in the present day. So kind of getting to see that shift sort of like, it's like a little bit more gradual during like the next generation.
Sure,
but I think going from the last time I was here being in the early 2000s to being like in this decade, like this is, you know, about 20 some odd years out from the last installment I was here for.
Coming to a TNG follow-up series in the modern day, what would you hope to see in this?
Sometimes when things move to being a streaming original and you're not held to the same like best practices as like
1980s television.
Yeah, 1980s primetime TV. I feel like, you know, there's a lot of people just like kind of lean on being like, oh, we can do HBO style things, so let's lean a lot more heavily on like, you know, the shock value of hearing like Picard say fuck.
Yeah.
Or
sex, violence, and swears.
Yes. What else is bald on him? Which like I obviously like I don't have any issues with like any content like that. Like it's really though about like how does it add to the story versus having it for just the sake of having it, you know, not Lord of the Rings with fucking and sucking, but like
you know, real quick, the importance of legacy, Ellen. I don't know. What do you think the importance of legacy is? We've talked about it a little bit in some of this conversation, but
I've been thinking kind of like for individuals, legacy can be something kind of like from like an ego place, like but then also with legacy, you know, it can be something that is meaningful to the community around it. Like we've talked a little bit today about, you know, like the personal ties like that people have to like the next generation, and like these characters matter a lot to them, and to continue on that legacy of like kind of these characters in that show is for, you know, the people who it matters a lot to and are the reason that there's kind of the audience in the first place to like create a new story or keep a storyline running. But maybe we'll figure out what flavor of
legacy we're getting.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess we can see if Picard can live up to the legacy of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Because yes, we are watching Remembrance today. This premiered January 23rd, 2020. This is the series premiere of Star Trek Picard. Alex Kurtzman is the current franchise steward, and he was tasked to expand the brand and create a whole slew of Star Trek content for the service, since Discovery was one of their big shows. They really wanted to capitalize on both Patrick Stewart, because everyone loves Patrick Stewart, and TNG's enduring popularity, which is probably still the most popular Star Trek show. So Alex Kurtzman tapped famed novelist and writer Michael Chabon to craft this Picard Legacy series. So what we're watching today is the first of actually 3 episodes. At the time, Chabon and Kurtzman described the first 3 episodes as essentially Act 1 of the story they wanted to tell for Season 1. And they were telling audiences to, at the very least, watch the first 3 episodes to like get a feel for like the show and what it's going to be. So we will too. Those of you at home, this is going to be your invitation to watch along with us. Star Trek Picard is currently streaming on Paramount Plus. You can find it by bringing up Season 1, Episode 1 and we will be back after we watch Remembrance.
Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Bluebird singing a song, nothing but blue.
See? And raise. Call. I will take 2, please.
You have a tell.
That is impossible, sir.
Every now and then, you dilate your left pupil, ostentatiously, I might add, in an effort to cheat me into thinking that you have a tell. But your true tell is you don't have one. When your eyes are neutral, that's when I know you're bluffing.
Now that you've told me that, Captain, I am confused about which deception to employ. 50.
50? That's everything I have.
I can see that, Captain. Do you wish to call or fold?
Let's behave like civilized men. Milk?
No, thank you, sir.
Sugar?
No, thank you, sir. Why are you stalling, Captain?
I don't want the game to end.
We just got done watching Remembrance. In case you have never seen this before, didn't watch it with us, we start with like a little dream sequence where Picard is dreaming about playing poker with Data back on the old Enterprise and everything, and get a little line of, "I don't want the game to end." And then it kind of ends in a nightmare with like they're in orbit of Mars and Mars starts blowing up. And so then we realize like, yeah, he's been dreaming, and where we actually are is that he is retired on Chateau Picard, kind of like how we see in All Good Things when he's on the vineyard, taking care of the all that. So that has actually borne out. He's got a dog now, number 1, a bulldog. He's got 2 Romulan housekeepers, assistants, which we learn later are essentially refugees from Romulus. And we kind of get caught up on what's happened in the last few decades through a gotcha interview that they do on his estate. But essentially what's happened in most recent times is that the Romulan star has gone supernova, and at the time, like, they knew this was happening, and Picard was advocating for helping the Romulans and like saving the Romulans from this impending disaster. But people were like, well, the Romulans are our enemies. Why would we do this? He's like, we're with Starfleet. And he eventually convinces Starfleet to do this. But then like disaster strikes and a bunch of synthetic life forms attack Mars, and the Utopia Planitia were like they're building up the fleet to go help the Romulans, and like a very kind of disastrous attack where thousands of people die. And after that, Starfleet says, well, not only are we not going to rescue the Romulans anymore, we're also banning all synthetic life from now on. So Starfleet didn't really help the Romulans, and this whole event has left Picard very disillusioned, and we learned that he left Starfleet because it wasn't Starfleet. And this like whole gotcha interview, I guess, goes viral and everything. And meanwhile, during all this, there's this young woman named Daj, who she's hanging out with her boyfriend. We learned she's about to get enrolled into the Daystrom Institute, but these assassins show up and kill the boyfriend. But then she goes all, yeah, you said Serenity. It's definitely like what's River or whatever her name from Serenity, where she goes into like young hot girl super soldier mode. And then so she takes out her would-be assassins, but then has like a flash of Picard's face, and so she goes to track him down. So you're like, I just somehow know you, and something about her is familiar to Picard. It turns out she has the same face as a woman in a painting that Data painted years ago back on the Enterprise that he titled Daughter. And he's like, and so he strongly suspects that somehow this might be Data's daughter. But then she dies. Romulans show up again. There's like a whole fight on a rooftop, and she explodes.
Your head explode.
Your head explode. And then Picard is like, oh, I, you know, he has a little moment after that where he's like, I've been doing nothing with my life since I left Starfleet. I've just been waiting to die, and I'm going to go figure out what's going on and why these people killed her. He goes to the Daystrom Institute, and he meets Dr. Jurati, played by Alison Pill, and she tells them that there's like a whole scene where she kind of talks about how, you know, all the synthetic life now is banned, but her and her mentor, Dr. Bruce Maddox, who is actually the character from the Measure of the Man episode, who was trying to dismantle Data to learn how to build more Data. It's that same character.
Interesting.
And apparently he had a theory about creating like a fully flesh and blood android.
Flesh and butt.
Flesh and blood.
Fresh flesh and blood and butt.
Flesh and butt. Yeah, so apparently they were working on a theory where you could create a fully flesh and blood android. And she also talks about how you could potentially reconstitute Data's like entire memories and everything from like a single neuron, like positonic neuron from him. And so we do, and she says, but in order this technique requires building them or creating them in pairs. And Picard's like, I guess that would mean there's a twin out there. And then the episode ends with us suddenly at the Romulan reclamation site, and we do actually see someone who looks just like Daj, and she says that she has a twin sister out there, and she has a little scene with a Romulan who has just come aboard, who is kind of just but she is suddenly enamored with.
He really does to me look like in the silent film version of Nosferatu. Like he's got a very similar like facial structure, but with hair.
With hair, yeah, very, very. I'm into you, I guess. I just got here, but do you love me? And it ends with showing what the Romulan reclamation site is, and I mean, you called it, Tyson. It is indeed a Borg cube. And Ellen, I don't think we ever did any of the Borg stuff when you were here.
I don't think we did.
No, and we can talk about some of that more later. It doesn't really come into this episode at all. So, and that's the end of the episode. And then it's like, well, I guess we'll have to tune in next week to see how all this continues to play out. Wacky, wild stuff. We'll start with initial thoughts. Ellen, initial thoughts on watching Remembrance?
So a lot of my initial thoughts were kind of about how, since it's been a significant amount of time since we've seen anyone from TNG, how the production design and costume design kind of oriented us in terms of how long it's been since the last installment with any of these characters. And one thing I really appreciate that I feel like I don't always see in sci-fi, but when I do, I really like it, is, in the more urban areas, there is this very like futuristic architecture. But when you get into more rural areas, like you still see a lot of like these older buildings. It's just that the technology around it has been updated. Like the Chateau Picard is still this very classic like French chateau. Some of the streets of Paris, once you get past like New Paris with like these like very like Blade Runner vibey like vehicles and like skyscrapers and stuff, is still like these kind of classic like chateaus and
old apartment buildings.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even just seeing the repurposing, like there's like like we go back to Space San Francisco for a little bit, and the Golden Gate Bridge is still standing, still, obviously a very iconic piece of architecture, but there's like solar panels on it. Like
it's
the fact that they've taken something that, is of historical significance that, should still remain up. But since like, just like the fact that there's this kind of like instantaneous travel, like of course, like they wouldn't need to use like that bridge to like connect parts of the Bay Area anymore. Like, I thought that was really interesting that they kind of use that to kind of help you get an idea of like just even what like everyday life looks like in this universe.
Future,
About 20-esque years from last time we saw anyone in this world. Mm-hmm. I mean, not anyone in this world, but anyone in this storyline.
Yeah. Next generation.
Yes.
Yeah. So, a little kind of like catch up here is kind of where we are and how things look and feel now. Tyson, initial thoughts on Remembrance?
I mean, I echo a lot of what Ellen put out there. The aesthetic and is really cool. I love seeing kind of like the mega structures in kind of this rural setting, like Blade Runner kind of vibes. I also just some of the dialogue. I have training and background in acting, and we went to college together in acting, and I just kind of was getting hung up on these little quippy little lines of I'm like, oh,
he's right behind me.
He's right behind me. Here's the rub. Like, oh,
so that just happened.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, isn't there? Yeah.
We have to have a phrase. I'm placating it, but
it's got to sound cool and hip for the young people.
Right.
Yeah, and that's something that everybody would know. Oh, I know that phrase. That phrase is familiar to me.
Don't quit your day job.
Where they weren't thinking about that in the original series. You know what I mean? Yeah, don't quit your. Yeah.
It's like a Futurama. Like, I get it. oh, now I get it.
So yeah, initial thought, yeah, that was just one of my initial thoughts of like, I kept on kind of like rolling over and rolling my eyes like, oh, I've heard that phrase before. Like,
it's especially based on what we've watched so far on the podcast and everything. I'm like, this feels, in terms of the language, feels very different than, it feels very, for me, it creates a strange whiplash where I'm like, well, Star Trek's always about the contemporary moment. I'm like, I mean, yes, absolutely. The 60s show is very 60s coded, and especially in terms of the thematic messaging, and with all the future shows, absolutely. But I'm like, but they weren't. Kirk was not saying groovy.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
he wasn't talking like he was in like Mystery Inc.
No. Yeah. And like, if you want to do that, that's fine. But like, you have to commit to something like that. And when I watch this, it doesn't feel super committal to anything. And part of, like, I kind of feel, so my general feel on this is that I feel very similar about this episode as to when I first watched it. I'm like, there's definitely stuff I like here, and I'm intrigued by what they presented. But also, I'm like, there is this part of me, I'm like, I'm not sure who this is for. Because on some level, I'm like, yeah, who... It feels like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too.
Like they're going for like a 4-quadrant thing where it's like, we have to, this is a show a lot of people are excited for, therefore we have to make sure through market research this appeals to as many people as possible.
Yeah, the market research bullshit comes through so strong on this show, in the sense that like, people like Patrick Stewart and Next Gen, so we should do a Patrick Stewart show. But Gen Z's gotta like it. And so I feel like we end up getting something that is, and the reason why I picked both of you, I'm like, you're both gonna you both have some exposure to Next Gen from different facets. But I'm like, I can't imagine this show in particular, and tell me if you feel differently, but I'm like, if you had not watched any of specifically The Next Generation, I'm like, why would you watch this? Like, what they present is, I'm like, intriguing, but again, only in the sense that they're presuming on some level you have watched some Next Generation to make this interesting. But then they're also like, but we got to bring in like new kids. I'm like, why would a new kid watch this? So I'm like, again, it seems like it's something very rooted in the hardcore legacy fans that they're trying to make specifically for a new audience. I'm like, I don't know if this is fully working for either audience here.
What it feels like when you made the analogy is like, I want my cake and I'm going to have my cake and eat it too. And it's like, you're going to like my cake though too, even if you've never had my cake. Like,
it's like really like they're trying to think about the fact that someone's child might be walking in and out of the room while they're watching this, where it's maybe they'll stop and watch and like stand in front of the TV for a few minutes, which like isn't a great way to market a show. Like, I feel like we see this also with some of the like legacy spin-offs. Like, we didn't talk about these in the first half, but like how like Netflix had like a reboot of like The Magic School Bus and like a reboot of like Carmen Sandiego, where it's like, you as a parent were alive during the 90s and might remember this show, so you're going to put this on for your child, assuming you're someone with a kid. And it kind of appeals to them, but there are a lot of nods that are for you, but they weren't alive for that, so they probably don't really care that much. Yeah, like, right. Where like, it's like, do you like, I feel like I'm coming down very hard on this when, like, I'm curious to see where this goes from here.
Sure.
There's things about this that I do like, but I do feel like it's one of those things, like, when you're trying to appeal to, like, every person possible that could maybe be walking in and out of the room while this is on TV, like, you don't have a target audience nailed down. Like, everyone, like, from when I did, like, my grad program in strategic communication, brag, like, I feel like there were a lot of clients I worked with that when you would ask them who they were trying to target, they're like, oh, we want everyone to, like, buy our products. It's like everyone wants everyone to buy your products, but, like, who specifically is most likely to? And what can we do to focus on them instead of focusing on someone who might not be in the market for what you're trying to sell in the first place?
That's what I talked to my therapist about. It's like, you mentioned the 4 quadrants analogy. I feel like if you're going to only put so much of, like, you're trying to, like, they're just spread too thin. It's like we're trying to appeal to everybody, but just pick your audience, or just pick 1 or 2 things where you can make a strong case to appeal to specific people. And then if people are impressed by that, then they'll bring in other people. I mean, if you want to come at it from a marketing standpoint, but I think if you're putting you only have so much to give in a certain aspect of your life, right? Why kind of spread yourself thin in multiple areas rather than picking 1 or 2, simplifying and going and giving your best and more than you are, just giving more in specific areas rather than spreading yourself thin.
For sure.
It's especially when this whole era is, and you guys are really just coming in for Picard, but this whole era is defined by, there's a Star Trek show for everyone. So this whole era is specifically about targeting not just one big audience, but multiple different audiences compared to what previous Star Trek had been. That's what makes some of this that much more baffling to me. I'm like, who exactly? I'm not sure what the audience is for this. I mean, like, again, the hardcore fans, but I'm like, but is this what the hardcore fans are, like, coming back for? And are the new kids coming to this? I think it's a great point about the market research. I'm like, watching it this time around, I was like, I'm getting, yes, there's the TNG pepperings in there. And, you know, and some of that stuff's great. Like, his little scenes with Dream Data are really interesting and everything. And just the little nods to Next Gen. But I also feel like I get a little bit of, like, something like Westworld kind of peppered in here with, like, this future AI and, like, the big prestige main title sequence with, like, cool visuals and everything.
That was something I'd noticed too. I'll say what I have to say about that later, though. Please continue.
And then a little bit of, like, the MCU with, like, and something like Joss Whedon's Serenity. There's so many little pepperings of things in here. It feels like such a grab bag of market research for a 2020 Star Trek show. But I'm like, this might work on a computer spreadsheet,
right?
But as an artistic product or a media product, I'm like, who is this going to land with exactly? And I'm still kind of like, I don't know.
It reminds me of that Simpsons episode, Poochie the dog one, where it's like, so you want Itchy and Scratchy to do exactly what they've been doing before, but also do something entirely different. And all the kids are like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm really curious. I'm going to pose this as a thought to you guys. You both said there were things, so far we've been a little like, Oh no, Star Trek Picard. But you both said like there were things I liked about this, and I said there were things I liked about this. So I do want to get into Tyson. I'll start with you. What you enjoyed about this episode?
I love Picard. I mean Patrick Stewart, and he's so iconic, and the gravitas he pulls into any scene. Like you could give him a pile of shit, and he'll make it Shakespearean. And I think he was intrigued with this episode or this series because I mean there are certain elements of. I don't know. I mean, a lot of his dialogue is very upfront, and I'm like that first scene he has where he's like, "Oh, I need more," and it's there's more to that story. He kind of he wrote off the series, but there's more to it that he's intrigued with. So him was really cool. The action was really cool. A lot of the fight scenes were really amazing. Not
the kind of fight scenes we got on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
No.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it definitely caters to a modern audience, but I love that. I'm putting myself. I am the modern audience, and it's cool to see like some of the times what's her name? The girl, Lodge or
Dodge.
Nicki Minaj.
Yeah.
Nicki Minaj.
Yeah.
Her boyfriend gets hit, and then they fucking slam her face down on a table. I literally was like, oh fuck, God, shit. Yeah. And then some of the action sequences she has later when they're trying to capture her, and she pulls out her Matrix moves, and there's a lot of cool fight choreography. I love the CGI. I love the new Romulan ships. I love
the production values as a whole are it is fun to see, I guess, the Next Generation world, at least a couple decades removed, with this huge budget, and they can do stuff they could not have done in the original show. It is also interesting to see Patrick Stewart in this, in that this is not exactly the Picard we had in the show. So it does give him some different kind of stuff to play with, which is even in Nemesis, which is years after the show, he's still Captain Picard of the Enterprise, and we can see that okay, he's mellowed, and now he's driving dune buggies in the desert, having a grand old time. But he's still Captain Picard. Here it's okay, this is a little different where he is now, and that is interesting. In terms of what you liked about it, Ellen, what really also spoke to you?
Just I don't know, the way that music was used. I feel like we've been in a drought up until a couple years ago of really distinctive music, especially on these very kind of tentpole style movies and TV shows. But yeah, we were listening to some of the score kind of prior to filming, and we were all really enjoying it. Even the way that they used kind of these pre-existing licensed songs, I felt really added to the scenes. The way the opening scene was done, and there was this very
Blue Sky.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is
interesting.
It's a callback to Nemesis, because that's Data was singing Blue Skies at the wedding.
Shit. I forgot about that.
Just the way that was really utilized felt very purposeful. It's not how some films will just get the rights to a song and be well, we gotta put in Diane Young by Vampire Weekend. We already spent the money.
Of course. Of course. I do like the music. And I do like the opening little main title sequence. It is not Star Trek: The Next Generation. And, we're gonna get into we can get into final thoughts, but it's hard to make any final conclusions about what we just watched, because we know we're gonna be watching
Act 1.
Yeah. So we got 2 more episodes coming. That being said, Ellen, final thoughts on Remembrance?
I don't think I have any new final thoughts, like past what I've already said, but I'm definitely engaged. I'm definitely on board to see what happens, and I'm interested in what's going on. Also, I really like number one. I think he's really neat.
Oh my God. Yeah, we haven't
cute.
talked about number one, the bulldog, too much. He's great. When he's just kind of sitting there, just, you're like, oh, you son of a bitch. Tyson, final thoughts on Remembrance?
I kind of feel similar to Ellen's thoughts. I'm engaged. It's a bit shallow for me. I'll be honest and deprecatory, but it reminds me of Serenity a lot. Like Dodge reminds me a lot of Serenity, so I'm intrigued by that. But love the new Romulan. They brought out the big elements of what made TNG, like the Romulans, the Borg, Picard, Data, and not to discredit any of the other actors or pieces of that series, but yeah, they've instilled their own kind of nuance and made it new, and it's certainly action driven and a lot of fun, and I love that stuff. That's a lot of fun stuff for me. So I'm on board, man. I'm excited to see where how the first act kind of
how it goes.
Arcs. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I'm very fascinated by all this. Again, I am more or less where I felt about this when I first watched it. And for me, I'm not sure who this is for, but I am intrigued. I don't like all of this.
It's for everyone.
It's for yeah, but I am intrigued.
It's like Jello's for everyone,
right? Except vegetarians.
Except vegetarians. No, I take that back. Actually,
the hooves.
Like potato. Yeah.
I am intrigued. My feeling at the time was, we'll see, but I am interested to see where this goes.
Same.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to our coverage of Remembrance. We hope you enjoyed our coverage of it, if not the episode itself. Next time, we're going to be watching our second of our 3-act 1 episodes of Star Trek Picard, Maps and Legends. Maps and Legends. Oh boy. Spoiler alert, Tyson and Ellen will be back for that one as well. All right, everyone. Will you see you next time for Maps and Legends? We'll see you next time. Hopefully not being blown back by an explosion while you're a 90-year-old man. I don't know how he lives after that. He's on his couch after, oh, we found you. You're okay. Why are you not in a hospital? You're 90 years old. You hit your head.
Help, I followed it. I can't get out.
I've just been waiting to die.
All senior citizens should have Life Alert.
Life Light.
I'm here to talk about senior citizens.
Nurse's out again.
All right. We'll see you all next time, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you'd like to share us your own Star Trek story, you can email us at storiedstartrek@gmail.com, or you can visit our Discord server. You can find us by clicking on the link in the show description.